going, team? Eddie Gray here. We're going to cover the mixer from top to bottom. I think it's very important to understand anything at its core, regardless of what you're learning and when you're learning it. It's really important to understand how something works in order to experience that clarity that we all associate with being in the zone. That's the goal, right? To be effortlessly moving forward towards something greater, something that brings us more joy and, of course, wealth and happiness and all that good stuff. So let's look at the mixer. We want to think of the mixer in terms of channel strips. If you kind of conquer this idea, the mixer as a whole is really not that complicated. It's not problematic. So we have a channel strip, and essentially it has three routing points. You've got the input at the very top. You can see it right there. Then you've got the output. In this case, it says stereo output, but all of that is configurable. And then after that, we have the sends. And that has to do with adding a bit of reverb or changing up the sound, modulating it somehow by use of effects. And this is usually done in series. So you have something, and that is in conjunction, being played in conjunction with something else. So again, I want to go over this from top to bottom. So we're first just going to chat, and then we'll go into the actual mixer, and then we'll go through some quick examples. So this is called a channel strip setting. You can save these so that you can work a bit more efficiently. This isn't something that you have to do all the time. In other words, if you find yourself creating a lot of low cuts or high passes, you might want to save that so you don't have to continuously make this decision over and over again. It's called decision fatigue, right? You don't want to get caught up in that mess. And so you can create automatic workflows to help you move forward. Now, right below the channel strip setting is the compressor lane. Now, I know it doesn't look like a compressor, but this is a gain reduction meter. It actually shows you how much gain reduction is taking place when you're using Logic's stock compressor plugin. This won't work if you have a third-party compressor. And is it necessary? No, but it is nice to be able to have a visual of the things that are occurring in your session, specifically EQ and compression, because as we know, if you master those two topics, your mixing and mastering will benefit greatly from it. Definitely the two most important things about mixing are EQ and compression. So speaking of EQ, right below the gain reduction meter, which is the horizontal rectangle there, right below that is called the EQ thumbnail. And if you double click in that specific space, what ends up happening is that you instantiate an EQ. Now, if you shift and double click, you'll go ahead and get a linear phase EQ, which is a different kind of EQ in that it colors the signal a little bit differently, but it's also higher quality. So it's recommended you use that for bus processing or for the mastering of a track. So again, from the very top channel strip setting, this is where you save various instruments. Let's say you use the same kick a lot of the time or the same cymbals or risers. This is where you're going to want to save that, okay? So we've got the gain reduction meter. If you double click on that, compressor is automatically instantiated in your session. Right below that, we have the EQ. Right below that, we have what's called the channel mode button or the input. And here, if you click on the right side, the one that says input, you'll be able to select input number 1 if you're recording a microphone, or input number 2. It all depends on how you have it set up. Well, now what's interesting about this though is on the left-hand side, you can also select an option. And here you can select if this is going to be mono, if this is going to be stereo, if you're just going to receive the left channel or the right channel. Go ahead and click and hold there and check out your options. Now with Midi, we get another option available to us, which we're not looking at a Midi track now. We're looking at an audio track. But yeah, there's a Midi effects slot as well, which allows you to go ahead and load Midi effects plugins. So on our audio track, though, we can see that we have audio effects. And so this section here allows us to treat the signal? Do we want to de-ess it? Do we want to apply chorus or phase or anything like that? And so this is where that's done. In Logic, we have the ability, at the time of this recording, we have the ability to instantiate 15 different plugins all at one shot. So that's pretty amazing. Okay, so let's keep going here. Right below audio effects, we have the sends. All right, and this is again where you take this signal and you send it to an aux track. Let's say it has delay or reverb. And so now we're hearing the original signal, which is the one that you're currently looking at. And then you have another signal that we're sending these drums to, let's say. And so then now you're hearing both the dry signal or the original and then the signal that has a little bit of delay or reverb in it. And this is usually called running it in parallel or parallel processing. And it's a fantastic technique, and you need to learn it if you want to really take this serious, okay? So we have the bus and sends, and there's more applications there. That's not the only one, but I want to keep this simple for now. So let's see, audio effects, inserts, and then we have the output. Now, the stereo output means 1 and 2, but you can also have this routed to 3 and 4, 5 and 6. What are some cases why you would want to do that? Well, for example, right now I have a separate audio interface, and when I have to record myself or a singer and I want to route the audio to another output so that I can control the music separately than that which I'm currently hearing, the vocalist that's here can control their music and their vocal independently. So you can do this by means of a headphone amplifier as well. There's different ways to do this. But if you're a beginner, you might not want to worry about this. But for those of you that are a little bit more advanced, this is where you would play with the routing, right? Where the session is no longer coming out of channels just 1 and 2, and you can kind of expand and stretch from there. Okay, right below that, we have the group lane, and this allows us to create groups, and this is important, especially for screen real estate. You've got 64 tracks, and all you want to do is look at the drums. This allows you to do that. Right below that, we have the automation mode. Do we want to have read, latch, touch? This is where we select it. And remember always to go back to read when you're done selecting another automation mode. Okay. All right. Then we have the volume meter on the left and the peak meter in red on the right. Right. And then we have the actual volume level. Okay. And we've got all the way at the bottom, mute, MS is solo, so you can isolate the track. You've got input monitoring on the left, and then the record enable or record arm on the right. So let's go ahead and look at Logic. So let's get into the mixer. So here's a full screen. Now I highly recommend on the top right that you chose that, which will give you thicker channel strips, a little bit easier to look at them. Notice we have 3 mixers, the single, tracks, and all. I'm going to go ahead and select all so you can see everything inside of my session at the moment. Okay. And then on top of that, if I go to view and I go to channel strip components, you can see that there are actually a couple more settings that I could turn on. I actually like notes, and this gives me more information regarding my track. So let's say on track 1, I go to my project track note and I say, make sure you add bass, right? All right, well, when I go to the mixer, that information, oh, it's because I erased it. Okay, here we go. Make sure you add bass. Okay, let me hit done. Okay, and then we should go here, and then you've got that information on your mixer. Okay, and then the last thing I want to say about the mixers is you've got these filters on the top right, and they're great. They allow you to search various tracks. Now, right now, I only have a couple things in my session, but if I go ahead and instantiate, let's call it like, 6 more tracks or something. Well, when we go to the mixer, and let's say you have a big project, maybe you're a beginner and your eyes are just confused. You're not exactly sure what you're looking at. Well, this gives you the ability to search and be clear about the amount of stuff that you have inside of your session. So you see I got a couple pianos lined up here. All right, so then all I want to look at right now are just my audio tracks. I don't want to look at anything else. I don't want to be confused, right? So here are my audio tracks. All right, let's no more audio. Let's go into just the instruments. What kind of instruments am I looking at? Okay, so then those are all my software instruments. We want to look at the VCA faders. We want to look at the VCA faders right now. And so if I just click on VCA, then right, we get that information. So go ahead and experiment, start to really get to know the mixer at length. It's going to be a part of your tool set. And so you want to make sure that you conquer it and you master it at a very high level. Okay? All right, guys, I'll see you on the next video. Cheers.